There are things a man should say, and there are things a man must never say, not because he fears the truth, but because he understands the weight of it. When you were younger, you probably believed honesty meant telling everything. You thought openness was a form of connection. You believed that if you shared all your thoughts, your fears, your past, the world would respect you more. But as you grow older, you begin to see something that no one tells you. The world doesn't respect what it understands. It respects what it can't quite figure out. A man's power lies not only in his words, but in his restraint, his silence, his mystery. This is what most men never learn. We live in an age where everyone wants to open up, to speak every feeling, expose every wound, and broadcast every insecurity. But that's not strength. That's noise. The Stoic man, the disciplined man, he speaks less because he knows the value of what he says. He reveals little because he understands that what you reveal can and will be used against you, not always with malice, but often with misunderstanding. Every man who has lived long enough learns this lesson, one way or another. You tell a woman something you thought was harmless, and suddenly her image of you shifts. You share a fear, a weakness, a regret, and you see a flicker in her eyes. Not judgment necessarily, but change. Because the truth is, women are not drawn to the man who bleeds emotionally. They are drawn to the man who heals silently. You see, Stoicism isn't about hiding. It's about holding your emotions with control, holding your truths with dignity, holding your power without flaunting it. And the reason why a man must never tell a woman certain thing isn't because she doesn't deserve honesty. It's because honesty without wisdom destroys respect. When a man learns restraint, he becomes rare, and rarity is power. So tonight, I'll tell you the 8 things a man must never tell a woman, not out of deceit, but out of self-respect, not because he fears losing her, but because he refuses to lose himself. Before we begin, understand this. The goal of a Stoic man isn't to manipulate, it's to maintain clarity, and clarity comes from knowing that not every truth needs to be spoken aloud. Some truths are meant to be understood quietly, through presence, through action, through calm. When a man speaks, he should move worlds with his words, so he chooses them carefully. And when he withholds, it's not out of fear, but discipline, because he knows that some parts of him must remain sacred. I once knew a man, strong, ambitious, deeply loyal. He believed love meant transparency, so he told his woman everything, his past mistakes, his failures, his doubts about himself. She admired his honesty at first, but with time she began to see him differently, not as the grounded man she fell for, but as the boy who still hadn't forgiven himself. She didn't stop loving him, but she stopped looking up to him, and once respect fades, love becomes fragile. That's when he learned the most painful lesson of all, that a woman's heart may crave emotional connection, but her admiration rests on your stability, and the moment you hand her your chaos, you also hand her your crown. Every man must understand this before he learns the 8 things, because without this foundation, you'll think this is about deception. It's not. It's about sovereignty. The Stoic man doesn't lie, he simply doesn't leak. He observes, he feels, but he doesn't give away every part of his inner world, because he knows the value of a mystery that must be earned. So let me be clear, this is not about playing games. This is about understanding power dynamics that exist in all human relationships. Women, by nature, are emotional architects. They build emotional worlds. Men, by nature, are structural pillars. They hold the emotional architecture up, but if the pillar begins to crumble, the structure collapses. That's why Stoicism is not about silence. It's about stability. It's about being unshakable. When you learn that, you'll see why some truths must remain inside of you, not as secrets, but as strength. By the end of this video, we'll explore these 8 things in depth. Each one is a reflection of discipline, self-respect, and power. Each one a mirror to what it means to be a man in control of himself. And I'll tell you right now, the moment you master these lessons, your relationships with women will change. Not because you'll manipulate them, but because you'll stop needing their validation. A man who doesn't need validation becomes irresistible, not because he tries, but because he's grounded in something deeper, himself. That's That's what she's drawn to. Not the confessions, not the compliments, not the endless words, but the quiet certainty behind your eyes. The strength of a man is not in what he can reveal, but in what he can carry silently. When you walk through life long enough, you'll notice something strange. The men who talk the most are rarely the ones in control. They're constantly explaining, defending, confessing. But the men who move quietly, they command attention without trying. And it's because they've mastered one thing. They know when not to speak. Now listen carefully, because this part is where most men fall. You may think the things you say are harmless, but words are seeds. Once planted, they grow, and some seeds destroy your image as a man before you even realize it. So, let's begin. Number 1, never tell a woman how much you depend on her emotionally. A woman wants to feel needed, yes, but she does not want to feel like your emotional oxygen. When a man says, "I don't know what I'd do without you," or "You're the only thing that makes me happy," he thinks he's being romantic. He thinks he's showing loyalty. But in truth, he's revealing dependence. And dependence, in the psychology of attraction, is a slow erosion of respect. You see, a woman's love flows toward strength, toward the man who chooses her, not needs her. The difference may sound small, but it changes everything. When you make her the center of your emotional stability, you remove your masculine polarity. You place her above your purpose. You make her your reason instead of your reward. And here's what happens next. She begins to feel pressure. She senses that you are leaning too much on her validation. At first, she comforts you. Then she starts to feel something she can't describe, burdened. And slowly, her admiration fades. It's not because she's cruel. It's because the balance has shifted. She no longer feels protected by your presence. She feels responsible for your emotions. A Stoic man never transfers his internal chaos to a woman. He processes it through solitude, discipline, and purpose. Then, when he returns to her, he's calm again, centered, grounded. That calmness is what makes her feel safe, not your dependency, not your emotional confessions, but your ability to stand tall even when the world is heavy. So never tell a woman how lost you'd be without her. Instead, show her that even in loss, you remain composed, because nothing inspires love more than a man who stays steady under pressure. I once knew a man who told his girlfriend, "You're my world, you're everything to me." He meant it as devotion, but when she left, he fell apart completely. Stopped eating, stopped working, stopped being himself. And when he begged her to come back, she didn't. Not because she stopped loving him, but because she no longer trusted him to lead. When a woman sees that you cannot stand alone, she subconsciously fears you cannot stand for her either. That is why a Stoic man never gives away emotional dependency as a confession. He loves deeply, but he loves with discipline. The lesson is simple. A man who leans too heavily becomes a man easily broken, and a woman cannot admire what she pities. Number 2, never tell a woman everything about your past, weaknesses, or failures. Every man has a past, a storm he's walked through, moments of shame, loss, mistakes, things he's not proud of. But here's where many men make a mistake. They confuse honesty with exposure. They think that if they share every dark detail of their past, they'll be seen as brave, but what they're really doing is transferring their shadow into her mind. When you tell a woman about every weakness, you invite her to see you through that lens. You might say, "I used to be broke. I used to cheat. I was insecure back then. I used to cry myself to sleep." You think you're showing vulnerability, but vulnerability without purpose is self-sabotage. A Stoic man doesn't hide his past. He simply doesn't bleed it all out. He lets his growth speak louder than his history, because if you truly changed, you don't need to describe who you used to be. Your current energy will tell the story. Understand this. People judge based on emotional imagery. The moment you tell her about your lowest point, she can't unsee it. Even if she loves you, that image will remain. The image of you broken, lost, uncertain. It sits quietly in her subconscious, and one day, in a moment of conflict, that image resurfaces, and she'll look at you differently. It's not about shame. It's about strategy. You don't owe your entire past to anyone. You owe your presence and your consistency. A woman doesn't need to know how many times you fell, only that you always got back up. So when she asks, "Have you ever been through something hard?" smile softly and say, "Everyone has their storms. I learned a lot from mine. That's enough. No need to detail the rain. Your silence will say more than your confessions ever could." Number 3, never tell a woman your true financial weakness or desperation. Money, it's not just currency. It's security, and security for a woman is not materialistic, it's psychological. When a man openly reveals his financial struggles, his debts, his fears about money, his panic about stability, he doesn't just sound honest, he sounds unstable. Even if she loves you, she will feel anxiety. Because biologically, women seek safety in a man's capability, not his wealth, but his direction. Now, that doesn't mean you have to fake success. It means you must never speak from desperation. When you say, "I don't know how I'll make it this month. I'm so broke. I'm stressed about money," you create an emotional crack in her trust. She starts to question your leadership. She starts to doubt your ability to build a future. Even if she supports you, even if she comforts you, something inside her shifts. She feels she's carrying you. And when a woman feels like your financial mother, the attraction dies quietly. You can be humble, you can be real, but never project scarcity, because a man's energy around money speaks volumes about his mindset. A stoic man faces his financial challenges silently, with focus. He doesn't cry about his situation. He plans, he adapts, he executes. When she asks how things are going, you say, "I'm working on it. I've got a plan." That's it. Simple, grounded. Because she doesn't need to know the details of your struggle. She needs to feel your confidence despite it. If you are in a storm, do not describe the rain. That's masculine calm. That's what separates the stoic man from the emotional man. He doesn't deny his problems. He simply doesn't transfer them. Remember this. The more a man respects his own boundaries, the more the world begins to respect him. You do not owe your truths to everyone. You owe yourself the discipline of knowing which truths deserve silence. Number 4, never tell a woman how much you fear losing her. Every man at some point feels it, that quiet panic in his chest when he loves deeply, that voice that says, "If she leaves, I'll break." But the stoic man hears that voice, and he doesn't feed it. Why? Because the moment a woman feels that your world revolves around her presence, she becomes your center, and a man who orbits around a woman has already lost his gravity. You see, love is not possession, it's choice. And the stoic man understands that his power is in being willing to walk away, even from what he loves most. When you tell a woman how terrified you are of losing her, you think you're being honest, but what you're actually doing is handing her emotional leverage, the invisible control over your peace. She doesn't have to misuse it. Even unconsciously, she will feel it. And from that moment on, your dynamic changes. She's no longer drawn to your calm authority. She's soothing your instability. And once she starts soothing you, the attraction begins to shift. It moves from romantic to maternal. A woman should feel your love, but she should never feel your fear. You can tell her, "I value what we have. I appreciate your presence in my life," but never say, "I can't live without you. If you left, I'd be destroyed." Because the moment those words leave your mouth, she'll start testing the edges of that truth. And no man should ever hand someone else the power to destroy his peace. The stoic man knows this. If she chooses to leave, it will hurt, but it will not break him. Because he was whole before she arrived. There was a soldier once, stationed far from home. He wrote letters to his lover, but he never begged her to wait for him. He simply wrote, "If you are here when I return, we'll continue. If not, I'll still return as the man I am." That kind of peace cannot be faked. It's the quiet confidence of a man who knows that love is not ownership. It's presence. So never confess your fear of loss. Instead, embody a man who can love deeply and still walk alone if he must. That's not coldness. That's freedom. Number 5, never tell a woman everything you think about other women. There's a kind of foolish honesty some men mistake for openness. They say things like, "Yeah, that girl's attractive. I used to have a crush on someone like her. My ex used to do that too." They think they're being real, keeping things transparent, but they're not being real. They're being careless. A woman's sense of security is tied to perception. When she's with you, she needs to feel that you see her as the one, the chosen woman among all, not because she's possessive, but because feminine energy thrives on being special. When you speak too freely about other women, even innocently, you weaken that feeling. And once she no longer feels unique in your eyes, the emotional warmth between you begins to cool. A Stoic man never flirts with temptation in words. He can acknowledge beauty without voicing it. He can observe without expressing, because not every thought deserves air. Some should remain inside your quiet discipline. You may think, but I want to be honest. Good, then be honest in your loyalty, not your impulses. A man's restraint is what separates intention from weakness. When you speak about other women, even casually, you create invisible comparisons, and comparison kills intimacy. A Stoic man never speaks in ways that plant insecurity in a woman's heart. He speaks with respect. He protects her peace because that peace feeds the bond between them. Now remember this: silence in the presence of temptation is a man's truest form of strength. You don't need to prove that you're honest. You need to prove that you can control your tongue. Number 6, never tell a woman your exact plans when you're uncertain. This one is subtle, but it separates leaders from wanderers. When a man is uncertain, he often feels the need to explain himself. He tells her every detail of what he's trying to do, every plan, every doubt, every maybe. He believes that being transparent will earn her support. But here's what really happens. The more uncertainty you speak, the more she feels unsafe. She doesn't judge you for not knowing everything. She judges you for projecting confusion. A woman doesn't need you to have the whole map. She just needs to see that you can walk the path with conviction. So when you're still figuring things out, your career, your goals, your direction, don't narrate your confusion. Narrate your intent. Instead of saying, "I don't know what I'm doing next," say, "I'm evaluating some paths. I'll decide soon." Instead of, "I'm not sure what I want to do with my life," say, "I'm exploring options to find what fits my long-term vision." The words sound similar, but their energy is worlds apart. The first makes her worry. The second makes her trust. Because women don't follow perfection. They follow certainty. And even when you're not certain of the outcome, you must be certain of your movement. Never tell a woman your chaos before you've tamed it. Bring her the vision, not the confusion. Because she doesn't fall in love with your plan. She falls in love with your direction. The Stoic man doesn't rush to speak his intentions. He lets his actions make the announcements. Because once a man speaks prematurely, he traps himself in expectation, but when he moves silently, he's free to adapt. A man's strength isn't in what he declares. It's in what he builds quietly while no one is watching. Now, take a breath. Think about these next 3 lessons. Never tell a woman how much you fear losing her. Never tell a woman everything you think about other women. Never tell a woman your uncertain plans. Each one teaches restraint, not because you're hiding something, but because you're protecting the balance between your emotions and your leadership. A Stoic man loves deeply, but he never loses himself in the process. He speaks truth, but only when that truth strengthens his presence, not weakens it. When you master this kind of discipline, you'll notice something remarkable. People start trusting you more, not because you speak louder, but because you speak less. Your words begin to carry weight. Your silence begins to command respect. And the woman beside you, she'll start to relax into your presence because she senses something she can't quite explain, that your peace is not dependent on her. That's when attraction becomes devotion, not through control, through composure. Now, the final 2 truths, the last and most powerful ones, deal not with what you say, but what you reveal emotionally. These are the ones most men ignore, and they're the reason most relationships crumble quietly, long before they end. Peace is not found in saying everything. It's found in knowing what deserves to remain unsaid. By now, you've understood something deeper than just relationship strategy. You're learning the language of restraint, the discipline that forms the core of masculine composure. And the last 2 things, they go beyond what you tell a woman. They touch why you choose not to. These are the lines a man must guard carefully, because once crossed, they can't be uncrossed. Number 7, never tell a woman how dark your mind can get. There's a storm inside every man. The thoughts he doesn't share, the battles he fights quietly, the moments where his mind drifts into places no one sees. The darkness isn't evil. It's the depth of awareness that comes with being alive, being conscious, being tested. But most men make a mistake. They believe that sharing this darkness, every anxiety, every intrusive thought, every moment of emotional despair will bring them closer to the woman they love. They confuse connection with confession. What happens instead is subtle. At first, she comforts you. She listens. She tells you it's okay to feel that way. But over time, she begins to see that darkness as part of who you are. It begins to shape her emotional safety around you. She starts worrying for you. She starts softening her respect, replacing it with sympathy. And sympathy, over time, replaces desire. The Stoic man knows how to process his darkness. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't bury it. He witnesses it, then works through it in solitude, in reflection, in purpose. When he returns to the world, he's lighter, calmer, unshaken. That's the kind of man a woman feels safe around, not because he never suffers, but because he doesn't unload that suffering onto her. Understand this: a woman isn't your therapist. She's your partner. Your shadows are for your solitude, your discipline, and your growth, not her emotional burden. So when the darkness comes, and it will, don't hand it to her like a weight. Carry it like a shield. Process it like a man of order, not chaos. Because the day you make her the container of your despair, you stop being her refuge and become another storm she has to survive. That's not to say you must be emotionless. You can be open, you can be honest, but never unfiltered, never raw to the point of losing form. The Stoic man can say, I'm working through some things. I've had heavier days, but I'm managing. That's enough. It shows self-awareness without surrendering control, because the moment you let your darkness spill out completely, you lose your shape, and with it, your respect. Now, remember this: the strongest men are not those who never feel pain. They're the ones who learn to master it quietly. And that calm, that invisible balance, that's what women feel before they see. Number 8, never tell a woman you've lost faith in yourself. This last one, it's the one that ends relationships silently, without arguments or betrayal. It's when a man begins to speak from a place of self-doubt. He says things like, I don't think I can do this anymore. Maybe I'm not good enough. I feel like I'm failing at everything. He thinks he's being authentic. He thinks sharing his lowest point will bring understanding. But what it brings instead is a fracture. Because a woman can forgive your mistakes. She can forgive your flaws. But when you lose faith in yourself, she loses faith in you. Not because she's shallow, but because her love is tied to your inner stability. When she looks at you, she doesn't just see a man. She sees a mirror of her own safety. And when that mirror cracks, she feels it. A Stoic man doesn't pretend to be perfect. He can admit fatigue. He can admit uncertainty, but he never surrenders belief in himself. Even in the darkest night, he holds on to one truth: I'll figure it out. That phrase alone separates the grounded from the broken, because as long as a man holds faith in himself, the woman beside him feels hope, even if everything else is falling apart. If you ever feel lost, and you will, don't speak from the wound, speak from the warrior. You can say, I've had better days, but I'll find my rhythm again. That single line tells her everything she needs to know. You're still in command. You're still leading. You're still the calm in the storm. And that is what sustains attraction long after beauty fades, long after routine sets in. It's not charm. It's not conversation. It's conviction. A woman's heart follows the direction of a man's faith in himself. If you collapse inward, she'll drift. If you stand firm, even when shaken, she'll anchor herself to your calm. That's the quiet gravity of masculine energy. It doesn't beg, doesn't chase, it centers. A man's silence is not absence, it's alignment, reflection, the complete 8. Now that you've walked through all 8 truths, you see the pattern. They're not about hiding, they're about holding. Number 1, don't tell her you depend on her emotionally. Number 2, don't reveal every failure from your past. Number 3, don't confess financial desperation. Number 4, don't express your fear of losing her. Number 5, don't speak too freely about other women. Number 6, don't explain your uncertainty uncertain plans. Number 7, don't unload your inner darkness. Number 8, don't confess that you've lost faith in yourself. Each one protects your core, your peace, your presence, your polarity. The Stoic man doesn't build walls, he builds boundaries. He doesn't speak less because he's cold, he speaks less because he listens more. You are not meant to be mysterious out of fear, you are meant to be mysterious out of mastery. Because your mystery is what reminds the world and the woman beside you that you are complete within yourself. The world may tell you to open up more, but you'll learn over time that your power lies in what you keep sacred. Let your words be measured, let your silence be intentional, and let your calm be unshakable. Because in the end, it's not what you tell her that defines you. It's what you hold quietly, with discipline, with dignity, and with peace. The man who owns his silence owns his life. If what I've said in this video gave you something to think about, then remember, wisdom means nothing if it stays in your head. Apply it, live it, let it shape how you move through the world. And if this message resonated with you, if it reminded you of the kind of man you're becoming, then don't just scroll away. Take a second, like this video, share it with another man who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel, because too many men listen in silence but never step into the brotherhood of those who choose to grow. Be one of the few who does. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay grounded, and stay untouchable.